heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, kicking off our Stay Tuned Sports Week with a little MMA combat sports talk. UFC 248 was this past weekend, and let me tell you, a lot of good stories came out of there. One, not so much, maybe. Well, maybe two, especially with the stuff that happened in the stands. But we also are going to talk about the Invicta fight card and with the live scoring that they tested out. You know, I mentioned, I believe last week, or it was the week before, that was announced that this would be the first event to use live scoring. But before we get all into that, head over to Twitter, follow us there at ST Sports Podcast, as well as our Facebook and YouTube pages. And head over to our website, staytunesports.net, and on the right-hand side, if you're looking for some UFC memorabilia or NFL or any type of sports, we actually partnered up with Fanatics, and we have their banner right there. So you click on that, head over after you leave us a review or a comment on our website, and purchase some UFC stuff. So like I said, Invicta had an event this past weekend where they used live scoring. Now, this all came about after the whole John Jones-Reyes fight last month. I personally thought Reyes won closely. But again, and I'll kind of bring this up again with the whole JJ versus Zhang match from this past weekend. If it's a close fight and you're a challenger, you're most likely going to lose the decision. Just because it seems like champions always get that extra vote or whatever you want to call it. You know, the old phrase, to beat the man, you have to be the man, you have to beat the man. You know, Ric Flair used to say. And a lot of fans argued and fought with each other over this. You know, some thought Jones won, some thought Reyes won. I was okay with either way because it was such a close fight. But the statement that Reyes made was he felt going into the fifth round he was up 3-1. John Jones felt it was close, but he was winning. And with the Invicta fight card in Kansas, they came out and said they're going to use live scoring, which each round, each corner will know how the judges scored that round and if they're behind. Well, this past weekend, they had it. And from reading some of the comments, seemed like it worked. You know, there was not a lot of problems with it. Every fighter, every fight did have the ability to see if they were behind or not. There was still some questionable scoring, but that's why they do these live scoring. You know, I believe it was the title fight for the women's division. The champion thought that, you know, she was up, and her corner told her she was up going into the fifth round, but she didn't want to play possum or, you know, play defensively, so she still went at it, and she actually won by split decision. So I really think this is gonna eventually come to UFC, come to Bellator, because even Max Holloway was there, and he was quoted as saying that he liked it. But just like anything new, you just got to keep trying it. This is a small test. This is test number 1. Hopefully bigger events can do it. Hopefully a little bit bigger events than this. A UFC event. Imagine them seeing the score, the crowd disagreeing, screaming once they see it. And I think if there is John Jones versus, whoever he's going to fight next. If John Jones is up 3 rounds to none, and a lot of the fans have it 3-2 or 2-1, and those fans are booing because of it, maybe that'll give a little bit of oomph or a fight for that one fighter that is down. Just looking at this past weekend's UFC fights, Adesanya versus Romero. I mean, no action whatsoever, but how do you score it? I had it obviously a close fight because neither fighter did anything. But once again, I went the champ because it was a close fight. You always kind of give it to the champ. Now, in between rounds, Romero could have saw that and maybe he would have been more aggressive. That last 30 seconds of the 5th round was the most aggression we've seen between the two fighters. Maybe with the live scoring, it would have pushed the fighters to do more, especially a 5-round fight because, all right, first round, fighter A, won that round 10-9. Second round, fighter A wins that round. They're up 2-0. Okay, well now fighter B knows that, hey, I gotta start doing something here. Otherwise, I'm really gonna put myself behind the 8 ball, and they may start pushing that aggression by the 3rd round. Obviously, fighter A can't sit back just yet because fighter B could win the next 2 rounds. And then that 5th round, both fighters know it's a draw right there, right through 4 rounds. Both of them may go for the knockout, or both may be more aggressive, and we may be able to get more fights like Gustafsson versus Jones 1 that just got announced this past weekend that will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame as one of the greatest fights ever. Which it is one of the greatest fights ever, but not the greatest fight ever, and I will get to that in a little while. But as far as the Invicta fight card with this live scoring, the bantamweight champion even made a statement saying that she thinks it's a step up for the MMA world. She said, honestly, in my case, my coaches told me after the 4th round that I'm winning, but she's the one that decided, no, I'm going all out, and she won by a split decision. So, now, that's the only thing. You won by a split decision, but how could it be a split decision going into the 5th round, or after the 5th round, if the coaches told her she was winning, which would mean that she'd be up 3-1. But being ended in a split decision, that would mean it was 2-2. And a very close fight. So obviously there's still some bugs to be worked out. But the whole process of how the fighters find this stuff out was at the end of each round, they had 2 people, one at each corner of the fighters, that had tablets, and one of the fighting commission members would receive the scores from the 3 judges. He would type it into a Google spreadsheet document, which then got text sent to both inspectors' tablets, and they would be standing behind the fighters so the coaches could read the scores off to let them know what's all going on. The only downfall that I read was as far as fans go. There would be about 10-15 second window that the fans could view the scores up on, I guess, the Jumbotron or whatnot. So, like I said, obviously there are some things that they still got to work on, but I think this is a big step forward to helping fighters get these bad decisions out of the judges' hands. It's not going to fix how the judges score, but at least it'll help the fighters realize, one, listen, I'm down in this fight, even though I feel like I'm up. Maybe I gotta switch up my game plan and do something different. And I think the fans need a little bit more time to see that, because 10 seconds, that's pretty quick. Whoever you're with, your buddies or your wife, girlfriend, may say, hey, there's Robert Downey Jr. By the time you see get a picture with them, you're missing the scorecards. But I really think now you're going to start seeing other commissions looking into this. May not come out this year and say, hey, we're going to do this in UFC 250 or what. But as long as this keeps going without having any issues or having any controversies with it, I think within the next 3 to 5 years, you may see this at every event. Now, speaking of UFC and events, Conor McGregor, not really in bad, but back in the news. His name is back in the news. Khabib's manager came out and said that if Khabib wins his fight against Tony Ferguson, they will not let Conor fight for the belt. Conor has to fight Justin Gaethje and beat him in order to get the rematch against Khabib. Me personally, for once, I actually agree with them. It just blows my mind how UFC keeps getting behind these. You're on a losing streak. Yeah, you get a championship fight. I mean, we seen what happened with Romero. He was, he lost his last fight against Costas, and he gets a title fight. Aldo lost his last fight. Yes, I know, very close decision, but he still lost, and he gets a title fight. So it seems like rankings do not matter whatsoever, UFC. And Justin Gaethje is, 4th ranked? And he's the only top 5 guy that does not have a dance partner right now, other than Conor McGregor. You got Khabib versus Tony, and then I forget who the other guy is in the top 5. Already has an opponent. And this is the match to make. I mean, they already, and you could sell this too, because they already have a little bit of history as far as trash talking. It's one of Khabib's buddies. So that would feed into it. And they're both knockout artists, so probably won't be any wrestling. Maybe Gaethje may try to take Conor down, but I really think Gaethje wants to knock his head off, so I think he would stand. Now the only question is, what division do you do this at? Conor just beat Cowboy at the 170 division. Khabib is the 155-pound champion. I don't think it would be right to say, all right, Conor and Gaethje, you guys fight at 170 to have a shot at the 155 belt. If you want these guys to fight for the belt, they need to fight at that weight for whatever belt it is. And that's just not Conor and Gaethje, but that's everybody. It just, UFC's matchmaking lately has just been weird. Not like I said, not worried about rankings. Telling Conor if he beats Cowboy at 170, he could have the title shot at 155. That don't make no sense. I do like what Justin Gaethje said about Dana White, because after UFC 248 was over, Dana White was asked what he thought about Khabib's manager's comments that Conor would have to fight Gaethje. And he smirked and he said, "We'll see." Gaethje responded that it's not fair. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm very level-headed. I respect the boss. But if he fucking tries, that I'm going to war. He also said that he punched him right in the nose and other things like that. I just can't believe this fight hasn't been made yet. The only thing I could think of, and I'm not saying Conor is ducking Gaethje, but I think Conor's holding out, hoping that Khabib wins. He knows Dana White and UFC wants to make that rematch. I'll just hold out till the fight's over and then decide about a fight. I'm still not all in that he wants to fight 3-4 times a year like he originally did when he first came into UFC. I need to see a little bit more. He seemed a little more humble after the Cowboy fight, but again, he has so many years of bad rep now that we need to see a little bit of something to be able to start believing what he's saying. And like I said, I just really think that fight will be a hell of a fight to do. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to recap UFC 248, all the good, all the bad, and one little ugly match that happened. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your good friend Jimbo from Stay Tuned Sports. Are you looking to get into writing or putting out podcasts to give you your hot takes or your opinion about certain subjects of the major sports or even e-gaming? Well, head over to bellyupsports.com and send the guys a message to get some information about how you could join our family. I've been part of the Belly Up Sports family since February, and I'll tell you what, it's a bunch of great guys and gals, help each other all out, and don't judge each other about what we put out there. So if you're interested, head over to bellyupsports.com, send a message to the guys. We're looking for writers, editors, even podcasters. So again, that is bellyupsports.com. Head over there, message them, and even read some of our articles. And welcome back to the episode, guys. So before I left, like I said, we had UFC 248 last weekend, and some really good fights. One, I mean, out of this world. So much respect for the fighters' fight, and a snoozer for a main event. Which I felt bad because I told the wife to stay up and watch it with me. I really thought it was going to be not as up there with Zhang and JJ, but I really thought it would have been very entertaining. So, just to touch on some of the fights that really stood out for me. Now, a little bit before, I think after actually the first fight, it was announced, and I kind of alluded to this earlier. The John Jones Alexander Gustafsson first fight will be inducted into the UFC as one of the greatest fights of all time, and rightfully so. Definitely top 5 for me. I will always have Forrest and Stephan Bonner up there, but I'll tell you what, I always said that one is what helped put UFC on the map for the mainstream and help get the ball rolling to get these commissions behind it. That's not chicken fighting, basically, like some of the Congress people once called it. But I'll tell you what, Zhang and JJ, if this fight from this past weekend doesn't put women's fighting in the mainstream for MMA, I don't know what else these girls got to do. I mean, to say it was a 5-round war is an understatement. And it was entertaining as hell too. Both took awesome shots from each other. Zhang, I really thought Zhang could knock JJ out. I mean, she landed a lot of good hard punches flush on the face, and JJ took it. And Zhang took a couple good kicks to the head too, and she took it. And they both kept going forward towards each other, and Zhang won by decision, very close decision. I had Zhang winning. I still had it close, but I thought she was the clear winner. I had a 3-2 score. I just thought that her shots were a lot harder, like more significant, I would say. JJ most of the time was pressuring, coming forward at her. Zhang seemed like more wanted to counter punch. But JJ's face, my God. I thought the Mark Hominick hematoma was bad. I mean, that thing blew up so quick. Her whole forehead was swollen up. 5th round, one of Zhang's punches connected right on her nose, pushed it off to the side. And Zhang didn't leave the fight unscathed either. She had a couple of good cuts and scars and stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, my wife, she don't really stay up that late. She wanted to see this fight, and I was going for Zhang just because of the whole JJ posting the UFC 248 poster a few weeks back when this whole coronavirus thing started. And the poster she photoshopped, well, supposedly a fan photoshopped a gas mask on. And I thought that was a little tasteless in a way, and I mean, I it's not that I didn't like her before this, but I just didn't like how cocky and she comes about, and it's just her being a fighter. It's her selling it. I understand it, just I didn't like her for it. And then when she did the poster thing, I was like, that wasn't right. And Zhang came back and said, it's not cool to make fun of what's going on in China, and especially now over in the US and other countries. But I'll tell you what, after this fight, and again, give both girls credit, 5th round started, they come out to the center ring after beating the shit out of each other for four rounds, gave each other a hug, touched gloves, went back at it all the way to the end. And even at the very end, when the bell rang, JJ bowed down to Zhang. Now, I don't know, there's a little bit of debate, did she bow down out of respect to Zhang, or was she just bending over because she's tired after a 5-round fight? I really think she has a lot of respect for Zhang. She was just trying to sell the fight. Maybe went a little bit overboard, but I know earlier I said, UFC don't believe in rankings, and, coming off losses, they seem to be giving people title fights. This fight was so close that I would be okay with an automatic rematch after JJ and Zhang heal up. A lot of people are comparing Zhang to Conor McGregor as far as stardom. And I'll tell you what, if she is getting as big as Conor, I'm happy to see that she's doing it respectfully. And Conor did do it respectfully in the beginning until he fell off the wagon or whatever. I don't know what made him start throwing dollies through windows and attacking fighters, wives on Instagram or whatnot. But even in the Friday weigh-ins, the at night when JJ was trying to get into Zhang's head with all her trash talk. All she just did was look at him and was like, shut up. She didn't bite into the trash talking. But so much respect for those girls. I love watching those divisions fight. They're so entertaining. A lot more entertaining than Romero and Israel. That night after the 5th round ended, I was pissed. And even the wife said I stayed up to watch that. She didn't really care for the match. But I sold her on it. I said I really think it's going to be a good fight. First round, and it was just a weird fight all around. First round starts, Romero takes center. He just stands there. Just stands there with his hands up. We've seen weird things like this. We've seen John Jones spider crawl out, from away from the cage, things like that. I was okay with it, and I thought maybe, all right, give it 30 seconds, and he'll start getting bouncing and start throwing punches. Nope. After 5 rounds, it basically came across to me like all Romero was hoping to do was land that overhand left as a counter punch. A couple times it landed, but not enough to knock him out. And as far as Israel went, I understand why he did it, why he didn't really engage too much, because Romero has power. He got connected a couple times. So why put yourself in danger? Again, Romero is the one that has to beat Israel to get that belt. And this is where live scoring, I wonder if it would affect it, because Romero thought he won. He thought he did more, which he really didn't. It was just a snoozer. It really was. And for Israel to say, he wanted to fight Romero to solidify his legacy, I think if anything, his legacy took a shot. I think it hurt, because he didn't do anything, which, again, I understand it, but you gave a guy, a 42-year-old fighter who was coming off a loss, a title shot, and have a result like that, to the point that Margaliata said, let's go, guys, let's fight. And at the end of the 5th round, at the beginning of the 5th round, he even said to both the fighters, you guys are getting paid to fight a championship fight. Give these judges something to score. Now, a lot of people took exception to that, but was that Big Dan's way of saying, listen, I'm about to take a point for timidity away? He could. Whether it would be right or wrong, we'll see. Big Dan has been a lot more vocal the past couple fights that he's been involved with, so I don't know if that's his way of changing the way he refs. But then my boy Sean O'Malley made his return after 2 years, and tell you what, man, he really showed up. It was kind of funny because the dude that he fought looked like he came in for a takedown or whatever, and he got clipped, and O'Malley just threw him down, jumped on top, beat the shit out of him. First round knockout. I don't even know if the guy landed any punches on Sean O'Malley. But it was also kind of funny because, again, 2 years ago is when he broke his foot and basically fought 1 foot up on the cage and defeated his opponent. Did his interview laying on the ground and, screaming, I love this game. I love this show. I fucking love you, Joe Rogan. And it was kind of funny because when Rogan was interviewing him, said, welcome to Sugar Shane 2.0 and this and that. And as he walked away, he jumped back onto the mic because it was on prelims, so it was on ESPN, national TV. He said, I freaking love you, Joe Rogan. I really thought he was going to curse, but I just like him. I want to see little bit more of a competition for him now. I think it's time to give him a higher caliber fighter. Not saying, definitely not a top 5. I still think he's 2 or 3 fights away from a title fight. But I'll tell you what, he's got power. The way he uses his kicks are unorthodox. It's just weird, and it works. He gets it, and now he's starting to come into his prime. I think he's starting to really understand the game, and I could see him competing for a belt. I hate saying he's a future champion because everybody says that about everybody. We say that too much, I think. He's a future champ, or Justin Gaethje is a future champ. Well, yeah, he's a top-ranked guy, but hasn't beat the champ yet, so it's kind of tough. But I definitely think he's going to be fighting for a belt within the next year or two. And then the fight that kicked off the fight card, the main event, Beneil Dariush versus Close. I'll tell you what, before the fight started, I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? That looks like a dude that hasn't even trained for MMA. And man, was I wrong. I mean, he did get caught. I mean, first round, Dariush got Close's back and just rode his back for 3-4 minutes. Almost got the rear naked choke in a few times. And I agreed with Rogan when he said, man, he's using all that energy with those legs. His legs are going to be dead. Second round comes out. Gets caught by Close. A little wobbly. Close comes in to try to finish him off. And Dariush just connects with an overhand left and collapses Close with his mouthpiece hanging out. The only problem that Dariush had this night was his call out. I liked his call out for Robert Whittaker, but if you're gonna call somebody out, he said something like, I have a call out, Robert Whittaker. I think you're an awesome father. Let's fight. What? What kind of call out was that? I mean, even some of the pros were reacting to him on Twitter. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're going to call out a dude to fight, don't, give it something to start the war of words. Couldn't spit that out. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to definitely keep an eye on him, and I think that would be a fun fight between him and Whittaker. So before we go, we actually have Bare Knuckles back this weekend. I'm hoping to be able to watch it. I'm going to be out of town. Maybe I'll sneak it on my phone or something during our vacation or whatever. Just don't tell my wife. But this one's also taken in Kansas, and they are actually going to be using live scoring as well. Now, you guys know, since BKFC's come about, that I've been all for it. My boy Sam Shoemaker's back this week, so I'm kind of happy about that. And just looking at the fight card, it's actually a pretty good fight card. Just to give you some of the matches, if you have been watching them, we got Helen Peralta versus Christine Ferrari, and that's for the 125 belt. Melvin Gillard versus Dakota Cochran. Like I said, Sam Shoemaker versus Josh Burns. Josh Neer versus Ronnie Foamy. I really think this is going to be a hell of a card. Now, the last card that they had in February, first 4 fights were over in 20 minutes. I mean, it was non-stop knockout. And it's main evented by Nico Hernandez versus Chancey Wilson. So I'm just going to give my picks for those few fights that I mentioned. So Sam Shoemaker versus Josh Burns. I'm going with my boy. From what I remember, his last fight His defense got a lot better. And I'm just hoping that Sam Shoemaker, it seems like he came onto the scene, BKFC, from the first pay-per-view they had with that nasty knockout. And I'm hoping that fans aren't thinking he's going to be able to do that after every fight now. If he pulls out a win by decision, by pointing out, I'll be okay with that. I just want to see him win. Dakota Cochran versus Melvin Gillard. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. But I'm going with Dakota. I just don't think Melvin is made for this. For BKFC. He has the knockout power, but just don't think he's going to make it. This fight here, Helen Peralta versus Christina Faria. This is a hell of a fight. I'm telling you, this may be my fight of the night right here. Candidate. I'm going to go with Helen Peralta with this one. Just because her last fight, man, she was insane. And then with the main event, Nico Hernandez versus Chancey Wilson. Gonna go with Nico Hernandez there. I think this is his debut for BKFC. So hopefully he has a good debut. So before we go, like I said, head over to Twitter. Follow us there at ST Sports Podcast. Head over to Facebook. Like and share our page there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then head over to our StayTunedSports.net website. If you click the follow button, you'll actually get an email when a new episode drops. So that way you'll never miss an episode. And while you're there, click on the Fanatics banner if you're looking for any type of memorabilia or jerseys or hats or whatever you're exactly looking for. So until the next episode, it's your good friend Jimbo signing out.